is Karma calling, and you better wake the up.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, Karma is Calling. I'm your host, Lauren, and I'm joined by my lovely husband, Chachi.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
So, last time he was on the podcast, we dove into his anxiety, and we haven't recorded for about a month because life has been really difficult. And we'll get into that later regarding our Saturn return or my Saturn return.
Mhm.
So today I wanted to catch up with him because astrologically, we have gone through a huge energetic shift with the eclipse season. We survived.
We survived the apocalypse.
The world did not end.
Did not end once again.
All those conspiracy theories on TikTok, proven
Just
not
damn
true.
liars.
But low key, we energetically were feeling it. So eclipses are times where fated events happen. It's moments in time where new energy is coming down to earth. We are up leveling. We are starting new chapters. And this one specifically was so powerful because it was in the sign of Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, which really represents conception. It represents birthing something new, starting something new. And so all of us had it in a specific house in our astrology chart. And this happened on Monday, April 8th. Chachi had it in his 8th house. Now, the 8th house in astrology is the darkness house. This is the house where people have to face their shadows. They have to face the darkness to be able to move into the light. So over the last month, like, how do you think energetically you were feeling? How was your mental health? Where are you now? Kind of from when you were on the podcast last time.
I think I was in a dark place the last time on our podcast. I was really going through my feels, going through my mental health, really deep, dark, like depression almost with anxiety. Because I just didn't know how to like cope with it. I didn't know what steps I needed to work through. I didn't know like because we're doing it in a different way, right? We're not going to get medication. We're trying to do it the more like organic way, like journaling, meditation, just doing it totally different, holistically. And I was just like working my way through that and trying to figure out what would be the best way to do that for myself. And fast forward into now, I think that we are in a better spot. I think that I've asked you tons of times to like help me inch my way into the light.
Right. I feel like the biggest thing, because you asked me, like, how am I supposed to prep for this eclipse? Like, what's going to happen to me? And I told you, like, you have to be comfortable
being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's your hardest thing.
For sure.
Because his north node is in the 8th house. So this eclipse was his nodal return, which is basically a time in your life where you step into your destiny. So you were kind of waiting for this like massive shift to happen.
I wanted like this, almost a sign, this like concrete sign from the heavens to be like, motherfucker, go this way. If you go this way, you're going to like everything that you're hoping for is going to be right there waiting for you.
But I think that could still come. But I think because the north node, again, this is like the magnet of where your soul wants to move towards in this lifetime and grow into, is in the 8th house. That house is in the depths of your psyche. It's in the times of pain and partnership and being vulnerable. And so it's not like your 7th house of marriage or your 10th house of career. It was like the 8th house of healing. And your south node, where you came from and what you need to learn to balance with your north node, is your 2nd house. And that is somewhat place where you're like, I got me, I'm safe, I'm comfortable, these are my resources, I'm good. And your soul is like, no. You got to learn how to be intimate with people, but also because it's in Aries, you have to learn how to be a little bit more independent as well. And I think that's really hard for you because you don't like to ask for help, but you're such a team player. And so when in astrology, sometimes we have these parts in our chart that say one thing, but then the sign says the completely opposite. And you have to learn, how do I integrate both of these parts into my life, both of these lessons in a balanced way?
Yeah, I think the balance is, I mean, for sure the balance is like the hardest part for me because I'm one or the other. I'm like really independent. I'll attack whatever obstacles in my way solo. Like I'm that warrior that goes out and
like he left his house at 17 and he ate top ramen for like, I don't even know how long, because he didn't want to ask anyone for money.
Yeah, for sure. And then like when I'm out there, I feel like I'm putting out so much effort to be that protector and like being so strong that when I do need help, I don't know how to ask for help. So then it comes back. Then I'm just like, fuck, I just really need some help, but I don't know how to do it.
And it's interesting because, again, you're going through eclipse season and someone in your life is mirroring back all these things to him. Like, you need to be, you're a great team player and this is great, but you also need to like head more things and you need to kind of like step into you. Like, other people see it in you, you're struggling to see it in yourself and to trust in that. And I think that's very eighth house too, like trusting the process of dying and being rebirthed.
Yeah, because then the people are telling me like, you're such a great team player, you need to go out on your own and kind of like do all the things independently. When I flip that switch, then I'm instantly, that's all I care about. Like that's all I focus on is like being independent. And so to go back to what you're talking about, like being, I need to find that balance, right? Where like needed to be independent, but also a team player. And I think that that's that happy medium where I do get to like where my destiny is. I just don't know how to balance that out.
Yeah. And I think that and everyone has a north node and everyone has a south node in their birth chart. Everyone has a sign that rules them and they both reside in a house. They're always opposite each other. And so we're always balancing the two. Like we don't ever want to abandon the Libra energy for you. You don't ever want to abandon the harmony, the ability to bring peace and justice to any situation you're in. But you do want to balance it with the Aries, the fire, the initiating, the leadership. And they're both cardinal, and cardinal signs mean that they're very much leaders. And so you have this ability in you, and you have the ability for people to listen to you why you lead. But it's that confidence of like getting that outside of you that people will listen.
Yeah. And it goes back to just having so much of the other house within me of like a team player that I don't want to step on any toes. But I know that if I do step into that leadership role, people will listen to me. But then that also means that I'm not a team player. Now I'm like separating from the team and being that like leader. And that's where I'm just like.
But isn't that being a team player if you're supposed to be leading the team and they're asking you to? Technically, then you're doing a disservice to yourself if you don't step into that role.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Well, duh.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to the point. But yeah, for sure. I think that does show teamwork as being, if I do step, and once I step into that role and become that leader, then yes, it like helps the team for sure. But it's getting my mind wrapped around that title and then having that confidence to be that leader is what I'm struggling with.
And this is why it's so important to learn your birth chart, because you are also a Sagittarius, which is another fire sign, but it's also the teacher of the zodiac. They are the philosophers. They are the wise wisdom seekers and holders. And because he has 4 planets there, he has this amazing wisdom. His Saturn's there. He brought this in from past lives. His sun's there. This is what he's going to be known for. But he shies away from it. And there's multiple parts in your chart that you're not fully enveloping yourself in. You're not empowering yourself.
Myself in.
I don't know. I'm like imagining like your chart and like you taking all those planets and that energy and kind of like absorbing them and living them out. And I feel like you cut yourself short and you don't really use a lot of parts of these blessings that you were gifted with in your chart. And you're like, well, I don't know how. I'm like, no, it's in you. You do know how. You have to believe in yourself, which is like so cheesy, but
it is super cheesy. And I wish I can do all the things that you're just saying that I have and I possess. I just don't know how to like show it. Like it's like I have this beam of light that just wants to just like burst, and I have like everything that I have inside of me, all the good and all like that powers that you just were speaking to, just like show. And it's just like inside wants, it's like bursting at the seams to like get out. I just don't know how to just like let it go. And it's just like you just see this bright light of just almost like a phoenix.
That's the 8th house. That's literally the story of the 8th house. You go from a Scorpio to an eagle to a fucking phoenix. You're there.
Or like, at the Matrix, when Neo like gets so much energy and like information that he absorbs, and he starts connecting all these dots, and he's moving faster, he's thinking smarter, like all these things are finally connecting with him to the point where like he blows up and he comes back as one, like the one. That's where I feel like I'm almost at. Like I'm almost at that point where like I can't take any more information. Like everything that's inside of me is route to like blow up to be like I'm great at this part of my life. I'm great at this part, and it's showing. And then I get to that point where like I'm there.
And I think that that's kind of the energy of the eclipse. I think it's like so much energy is coming down to earth to turn on these DNA parts of us that have been dormant. Like you're saying, like there's parts of you that have just been laying dormant throughout your life that you are now logically and intellectually aware of, right?
Yeah.
We can tell you through tarot, we can tell you through astrology, like we're telling you have gifts, you have gifts. Other psychics are telling you have gifts, and you're just like, okay, yeah, I have gifts, okay. But you're finally like the moment in switching in a spiritual awakening process where you go from the ego to like actually being like ingrained is embodiment, right? Until you believe it in your body and you are like walking the walk, not just talking the talk, you aren't aligned. And so I think for you right now, you're at this like tipping point of the ego understands, the intellectual part of you understands, but now you need to like embody it. And fear is that last step to kind of push you over because you're scared. And I'm wondering, what are you scared of? Like, what are you scared of embodying your gifts?
Failing. That's easy. That was an easy question. Failing.
There you go, guys.
No, I think just like growing up, it wasn't that I couldn't fail. It was if I failed, I'd let other people down. And so I just never wanted to fail. And if I never put myself in a position to fail, then I would never let anyone down because I'd always be able to control.
So you stayed in your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'd stay in my comfort zone because I knew that I could control what I can control, and what I can control is me being successful in that sense. Like everything else in that little bubble of mine is good. But if I try to take that extra step to be even more successful, then there's room for error, and that error is failing, and I don't want to fail.
Which is in turn self-sabotaging you because you're failing, because you're staying stagnant and in that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so it's getting used to failing because that's the only thing that's probably constant in our life is failure.
In our lives, in both of our lives?
No, in everyone's lives.
Okay, I was going to say.
No matter what, we're going to fail. No matter what, we're going to fall on our face. But that's kind of the lesson of life. Like if you are so afraid to fail, you stay in the same spot, you never grow. Why'd you incarnate on Earth then? Because Earth is all about growth.
Yeah, no, that is like, I'm now like seeing it, like understanding you. Like, yeah, we're put on this earth to live. And living comes with failing, also comes with succeeding and everything else. But I just never allowed myself to really grow as a person because of the fear of failing. But that is growth, right? That is what you're supposed to do, is fail sometimes, learn from that failure, and then the next time that happens, you have that experience, and then you can now grow from it.
Yeah, and I think a big part of why we're not taught to fail. We're not taught emotional regulation as kids, right? So when you fail, it's devastating. And maybe you have parents that are really hard on you. Maybe you have a coach that's really hard on you, that it's unacceptable, right? Like I had coaches that it was totally unacceptable to lose. It was totally unacceptable to mess up. And now I'm like so perfectionistic because I don't want to mess up, because I remember getting screamed at for that, where now I feel like we're shifting into, well, I think a pendulum. Some parents never let their kids fail at all. But now I think the rhetoric of it's okay, it's how you teach them to fail is so important. Because it's not even failing.
No, and I think that you need to people should teach their kids that like that lesson, that life lesson, like if you fail, that's fine.
I feel like we need to use a different word though, because like failing, it's if you have a hiccup, it's like sin, right? The definition of sin is you miss the mark. Not that you're a horrible person, you're going to go burn in hell. The translation of sin in the Catholic Church, which we both grew up in, was very, very like scary, fear-mongled. And so it's like, you missed the mark, bud. You got an F. Why'd you get an F? Let's talk about it. Like, instead of you got an F, you failed, go in timeout, right? Like,
we always made it. Yeah, it's a shame to that word. And it's just like the act of it. Like you failed, you are below what you need to be to succeed. And so you're just like, you feel this like heavy weight on you if you hear you failed, right? But it's not like, it shouldn't be that of a bad, it shouldn't be a bad thing. It should be like, okay, what did you miss the mark on?
Yeah.
What didn't you succeed in fully in? And how do we change that?
And I feel like shame and guilt are like the heaviest emotions.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah. And that's why like shame is really attached to a lot of trauma too. So a lot of people who have experienced trauma experience a lot of shame and it gets stuck in your body and then it loops in other experiences. And the thing with shame and guilt are emotions are just messaging, right? So like if I'm feeling guilty, it means I believe I did something wrong. If I'm feeling shame, I feel bad. Okay, why? Right? Sometimes we do need to feel guilty because a kid needs to feel guilt to not go steal someone's money again because that's bad.
That is bad.
But they shouldn't get stuck in the guilt, right? It's like the Catholic Church. Once again, like we talked to your mom, she was like, well, guilt keeps you in line. And it's like, no. That's what the church wants you to believe, right?
Yeah.
It's especially in the Mexican culture, guilt is massive. I've worked with so many clients whose parents, guilt was the main tactic because that's what they're taught.
That and chanclas. So if you're not Mexican, you don't know what a chancla is. It's the sandal that your grandparents or your mom's wearing. And that and guilt are the two greatest weapons in Mexican household. So just prepare yourself.
Which then induces shame.
Yeah. And pain.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyways, so working through your fear, this eclipse season, it's a seed, right? Like what happened on Monday, some people, you might have got that job, you might have lost that job, you might have gotten married, whatever. But a lot of people, it's going to pick up over the next 6 months. And I think on a collective level, it's really interesting because it's going to go on till the next eclipse season. We're in America, it was the Great American Eclipse. Wherever we see the eclipse, it is the most potent. And if you see in 2017, the eclipse went over this way, and then this one went over it basically made an X through America. Kind of ironic. And we're in election season. So when I kind of talked about Aries of like integrating anger, integrating righteous rage, integrating independence, integrating your own passions and going after them, I think this year specifically is going to really show how do we do it as a collective. And so just like you individually, it'll be interesting over the next 6 months to see what was planted now, because you are energetically, I feel like, a lot better than you were a month ago.
Yeah, I can feel that too.
And it's only going to move and grow. And so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I can feel the change from where I was to where I'm at now. And it's not like this crazy, like I can pinpoint exactly where this change is. I just know energetically I am in a different spot than I was a month ago when I was like battling really bad anxiety. Now I'm a little bit more opened up. I'm not as stressed. So I'm excited to see what the 6 month looks like, because I mean, you can see it because you're around me all the time. I notice it because I'm not dealing with it constantly, but I want to see where after 6 months where this takes me, and hopefully the people who are listening or watching can see the change as well.
Yeah, take those risks.
Yeah, take these risks.
So the next topic we're going to talk about is my Saturn return. So he's going through a nodal return. That is a moment in time. It happens every 18 years. First one at 18, we're not really connected to our North Node yet. The second one, when we're 36 to 37, is the big one because you're a lot more mature. You lived a lot of your life and you really step into who you're meant to be. The Saturn return happens between 27 and 30. And I've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's a moment in time that you're maturing. Saturn is the daddy of the zodiac. It makes sure you grow up. It makes sure you stay. It makes sure you stay in line and mature. And if you don't listen to Saturn, it will like hit you over the head. Luckily, I'm an Aquarius sun. Saturn rules that. I have a good relationship with Saturn. We're homies. So my return hasn't been this like tumultuous return that some people are going through right now. Mine started back in March 7th, 2023. It happens right when the Saturn gets into the sign your natal Saturn is in. Happens ever again. 30 years. So if you're around 60, you're also going through one, or if you're around 90, it's in Pisces. So March 7th started. In May, I got pregnant.
Got pregnant.
Had a miscarriage. which moved us to a completely new city.
Mm-hmm.
And that was wild. And then got married, then got pregnant again, and then had another miscarriage on Christmas of this year. And so to me, it was just like, oh, yeah, I'm going through that. I didn't really think about that being my like Saturn return story. But fast forward to now, I'm pregnant again
For the third time.
for a third time. And what's crazy is my Saturn perfected. It like returned home, and then I was able to get pregnant. And so it was almost like my body needed to get me ready, right? Your return stories are moments and times where you're initiated into adulthood. And those two miscarriages really got me and you
Yeah.
ready for parenthood, I feel like.
I mean, again, we talk about, I don't know if we're prepared to be parents, because most of our friends who have kids have explained how crazy it is to be a parent. But I think that we're emotionally prepared.
Yeah, I would say it was the initiation that we needed entering into this chapter, because the first time around, it was a lot. We had to move. We
Yeah.
had to really lean on one another.
Mhm.
It really brought us closer together. But for me personally, it really highlighted my health and like what I needed to do. The second time around, it really allowed Charles.
To step into that father role.
Yeah.
Like, be prepared to be a father.
And like take care of me.
Yeah.
And really step into this like spiritual guru at the time of like my darkest of days. You like really brought me up using spirituality, and it kind of, I feel like, embedded in you a little bit more faith.
Yeah, I think that it propelled me forward into this now. I don't want to say title, but it's almost like I'm feeling of a title of like father. So now it's just like I have to be emotionally in a good spot. I have to be that provider for you in the way that you need a provider, emotional support. And I've like stepped into that role.
And so those miscarriages, like sometimes it does really impact the person. Obviously, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, even for the mother. And it's really hard to articulate when you're going through it what it's like, because you would be like, I don't know. You felt so bad for me because
Yeah.
you knew I was in so much pain.
Yeah. And it goes back to this me wanting to protect the people who I love so much that I want to take their pain away from them. And if I can't figure out, and you can't figure out why you're feeling this way, or like what pain you're feeling, I can't take that away from you. So then I felt bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can see how then like certain people might withdraw. Miscarriages do sometimes bring people closer, but they also sometimes bring relationships farther apart because people go within, they don't know how to support their partner. So during those times, it's really just being there, allowing your partner to talk about it for however long they need to talk about it, allowing them to lay in bed if they need to lay in bed, and just come check on them. Because I really do see miscarriages as like an initiation of the spirit baby. Sometimes spirits aren't ready to reincarnate yet. Sometimes they get scared. Sometimes they're not ready, but sometimes they don't think their parents are ready. And we had a psychic reading, and it came through that the baby basically said that Charles and I weren't ready, and we had a lot of growing to do, because this baby has a big mission here on Earth.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But it was like, I have a mission and I need them to be able to be at the frequency that I need as parents, which really actually resonated with us, because from last year with my first miscarriage to where we are emotionally just in our life and our communication and as parents, we're completely different people.
Yeah, I think before we were going through this whole pregnancy, I mean, we had problems, of course, like every married couple had problems, but we didn't know how to communicate those problems with each other. And I think that now, since the third pregnancy, I feel like we've shifted in a way that we are able to communicate with each other a lot more, in a way that you can comprehend and I can comprehend the other person's feelings. And I think that's helped a lot. And I think that the baby has helped us achieve that, because it wanted us to be like, hey, you guys have to depend on each other a lot more and communicate in a way that you guys could heal each other, that we didn't know how to do in our first pregnancy and our second pregnancy.
Yeah. What's interesting is we go to an intuitive, their name's Kiki, and they said, which is crazy, you just said that, we didn't know I was pregnant at this point. I conceived, I think, this weekend. So I saw her,
Mm.
Spirit Baby came through, we conceived. Obviously, we didn't know that. And then Charles saw her the next week, and we did a couples reading as well. And Kiki said, the only thing in your, like, you need to clean up is communication. She's like, there's one thing that just is kind of getting you guys stuck. And it was that I would feel like he had condescending attitude or like a tone, like, that just that tone. And then I would snap and be like rude. And it was just the same little bickering, and it was the same issue. No undertone to it, like bigger issue besides the same rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And she was like, on the full moon in Virgo, oh my God, I'm just putting it together. She said, on the full moon in Virgo, it's going to be like gone.
Yeah,
what happened on the full moon in Virgo? I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
The synchronicity in
The
that.
synchronicity. I mean, I think that we do a little bit of that still.
Yeah, but not as much as we used
definitely
to.
not as much as we used to. And I think I caught myself like realizing what you were talking about.
Your tone?
The tone that you speak of. But I don't
Every person knows when their partner has a tone.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just a
I
thing.
mean, yeah, I know that when you have a tone, but I don't bring it up because it's just like whatever. But when you bring it up, it's just like yeah, we all have tones. Like, get over it, woman. But I think that when we don't do that anymore, or not as much as we used to. Like, I think it's subsided a lot because we're focused on the baby now. It's not even us anymore that we're like arguing. And when we did argue, it wasn't even arguing, we just bickered.
But that's the thing is, I think it goes back, and I'm not going to put all the blame on you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
I definitely have a temper. Not a temper, I have a sass.
You're sassy.
I'm sassy.
You're zesty.
But I think you were so unhappy and you didn't know how to articulate your emotions. And moodiness equivalates to not knowing your emotions. And you've done so much work over the last few months to understand your emotions. And that's really helped you communicate better. So you don't unconsciously have a tone with me when you're having a bad day about other things. And then you take it out on me.
Yeah.
And so I think your self-growth and then mine of like, okay, yeah, I need to stop snapping. Cause like, I also recognize that I could jump on you quickly.
Just quickly. And yeah.
You reminded me of my dad.
Yeah, well, Jimbo's a great guy.
You both have this tone.
I don't know why you would like ever fight with Jimbo. He's a great guy. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, I think self-reflection was key. I think I have opened up a lot emotionally, and I've understood like the places where I need to, or I haven't opened up about. I've slowly started opening up in those situations. That I think has helped us grow, helped us grow in that part of our relationship. And I mean, we're still learning each other. We have like a lifetime to go, but like each chapter's helping.
I think it's gonna be interesting because when we have a kid, you're gonna meet a new version of me, and I'm gonna meet a new version of you. Yep. And they really say that, especially to the fathers, of like, your wife is going to be different. Like, she's going from the maiden to the mother. So I will be different. And not only hormonal changes those first 2 years as well, but it is going to be another transition. And I think that's why couples meet each other and they expect that person to be the same person when they first started dating. And again, it kind of loops back to the other conversation. Like, the point of Earth is to evolve. Yep. And that's what you want to do with your partner. If you guys are evolving together, that's when the relationships gets juicier and deeper and deeper instead of like evolving apart from one another.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because like as a couple, as a team, I see us and I'm like, I want us to grow and evolve. Right. I'm looking forward to that evolution of you and I. But independently, I'm so afraid to evolve.
Ooh, South Node Libra.
And it's just like, why am I so afraid to evolve independently when I want us to evolve as a partner, like as a unit?
It's just interesting because like Libra rules over marriage, Libra rules over the other. That's why that's a sign of partnership. So it's like so comfortable for you to be in partnership, and it's so comfortable for you to have me and North Node Aries. Like, it's very uncomfortable for you in that sense. And it's a soul journey, and so it's okay that it is uncomfortable. I think it's the awareness that you now have And that's, again, how we can use astrology is like, oh, that's a shadow aspect I have. I need to work on that. And you can like grow into that.
Yep.
And it's just really interesting using astrology you can layer your chart with your partner's chart to understand what they're working through, but then to also understand what you're working through. And so I really love doing that too, understanding your shadows, but then also I can tell you my shadows. Like one of my big lessons in life is learning about intimacy. That's really hard for me. And it brought up in our relationship very early on where I was like, Charles, you're so emotionally unavailable. If you are telling your partner that they're emotionally unavailable, big chance you're also emotionally unavailable. And that's why you guys can't connect.
Look in the mirror.
Look in the mirror. And so astrology has really guided us through a lot of these times where we're like, what's going on? It's like, look at the stars.
Yeah, for someone who's not as, or who wasn't as spiritual as I was, I find myself asking you a lot more about what my day, my week, my month, my year is supposed to look like. I'm asking you to give me my tarot readings. Like I'm starting to, like I'm buying in. Like I'm almost fully buying in. Like I'm almost there. Kind of back to that story of me like almost bursting at the seams of just like wanting to evolve, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it comes down to just needing to take that step.
Well, and hopefully the baby will kind of motivate that, right?
Yeah.
Of like, that a life is coming in to this world and you're going to have to be that leader, that protector. And by stepping into your power, knowing your strengths, that's only going to help you as a dad and as the family. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this baby takes us because again, in that intuitive reading we had, the baby was like, oh, money is coming once I'm born. And we're like, oh shit, what does that mean? So I don't know. It'll be cool to be able to really document this process.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, I'm really excited to watch where this goes. We'll have you back on the podcast because it's so much better to do it with someone than by yourself.
And I promise I won't be as awkward next time. I'm still learning this whole being filmed stuff.
I know. It's so shitty because like we have conversations all the time on walks and like at night and they're so fucking good, but like we can't just break out the podcast at 9 p.m. at night and then it's just not the same when you sit down and you like record.
I also want to see, so not only am I evolving as just a person because of all this change in life, but also I want to see us evolve in this podcasting journey. Like people are gonna look back and watch this and be like, wow, they looked weird. And now it's just like, damn, look how they glowed up.
Oh, hopefully. It was like we were watching one of these couples and they're on their like 200th episode. And the guy was like, I was so anxious and so nervous in those first few episodes. And it's like, it's vulnerable to get on here and just like start talking. And I have been so tired through the first trimester that the podcast fell aside, right? Like I just have not been on my game. And so when I started this back in January, I had in my mind a really different trajectory of it and like frequency of it, but I got pregnant and I just had to roll with it. And so over the last few months I've revised and reflected and been like, okay, what's sustainable? And so I'm just like playing with it. And I love that you're on it now because I learned in my human design that it's better for me to talk to someone than to talk by myself.
Yeah. And so we'll just keep on evolving and
see where it fucking goes.
See where this goes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone. We really, really appreciate your support. So subscribe, like, share, comment any topics. We want to make it like a community. We want to chit chat with y'all. So we're excited to be here next time. Thanks for joining us, Chach.
Thank you.
To get in touch with me, you can head over to thelunarchild.com and book any astrology or therapy sessions. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, The Lunar Child, if you want to dive into daily astrology transits, everything you need to know about your birth chart, and some health and wellness goodies. And I will see you all next time.